Hey everyone, my name's Thomas, and this is the first, I hope, of several videos, a lot of videos, that's going to see me try to learn how to own an RV. We've owned RVs, my wife and I, one other, a used one, about 10 years ago, an ultralight. But this is a brand new, no boundaries, 20.3 beast mode. It's a 2025 model. We bought it in January. And we haven't used it yet. Our first trip's in a couple of weeks. I was de-winterizing the camper last week and found a pretty significant leak in the rainfall feature of the multifunction sinks that started coming with the 2025 models of the No Boundaries. It was this rainfall feature that was cracked right behind that piece right there. I could have taken the RV back. It's under warranty. My dealer's about an hour and a half away. I thought that maybe I could fix this. So I'm going to give it a shot and see how it goes. It's an RV. And as we all know, I'm learning that if you own an RV, you're going to have to be handy. So I'm going to attempt this repair myself. I hope it helps you. And I hope that you like and subscribe and share the video with anyone that may be having problems with their multifunction sink. Thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate it. All right, before we get into taking the sink apart from underneath and actually getting it out of the countertop, a few steps that you need to take first. Be sure to disconnect your city water feed. If you have any kind of connection that is feeding your camper with water, when you start taking these these pipes apart, these connections apart, it's going to flood your camper. If you're boondocking or if you're using your freshwater tank, be sure you turn your water pump off. Also, be sure to relieve all the pressure in your lines by going to, for me, it's the back of the camper on the driver's side. The low point drains, both the hot and the cold, need to be open so you relieve all the pressure in your drains. Also, one of the connections is very close to the water heater. So when you disconnect that line from the sink, if your water heater has water in it, most likely it is going to pour out into your camper. So it's a good idea to go ahead and take the anode rod out of your water heater and be sure that you completely drain that as best you can. It will just save you from cleaning up. All right, guys, let me explain exactly how I found my leak and how this multifunction sink works. You have two sources of water, or two outputs of water. You have your spray nozzle and you have your waterfall feature on your sink that's right there. The brass knob right here controls whether you are sending water to your spray nozzle faucet or to your waterfall feature. You've got two small icons, and I will try to get that to focus if I possibly can. I'm not sure if I can with this. But on the bottom, that is the icon that is for the spray nozzle, and on the top is the rainfall. So if I turn the knob clockwise, I am sending water to my spray nozzle, and the more I turn that knob, the warmer the water will get. All right. If I turn it counterclockwise from the off position, the same happens with the waterfall feature on the bottom right hand side. Of course, the more I turn it, the warmer the water gets. The cup rinse does not operate through the faucet. It has its own separate line, as I showed you. This knob right here controls a small piece in the drain. So when I turn it here, when it's facing straight up, the icon's facing straight up, water will drain out of the sink. If I want to close it and hold water in the sink, I just turn it until I hear the click, and water will not drain from the sink. This is a standard pump soap dispenser that you can add either hand soap or dishwashing soap to. All right, guys, this is what it looks like underneath the sink when you remove those boards that the manufacturer installs to just keep things from rattling into your plumbing. All right, so I've got on this side over here, that is our water heater. Right here is our main sink drain. This is the water line that goes all the way to the other side that connects to the cup rinse. We have here, this is our hot water connection, and this is our cold water connection. These two connections go up to the faucet. And all you do is just, I've already loosened these. You just take these off. That's your hose that goes up to your sprayer head on your faucet. And you disconnect this. It's a standard connection. Disconnect that from the cup rinse. At that point, you just loosen this PVC connection here that connects to the drain, and at that point, all of your water connections have been removed, and you're ready to move on to the next step. Now this, and I hope I can get that in focus for you. That is the clip that is used to hold the sink to the countertop. And I'll be honest with you, throughout this entire process, removing these, there's 4 of them, and removing these 4 clips was the hardest part of it. This little hook right here connects to, if I'm putting it on this side of the sink, it connects to a hook on the sink, and then you screw this up, and it hits the bottom of the countertop, and it pulls that sink down into the countertop. There's 4 of them. There's 2 on the left side and 2 on the right side. If you'll look right here, I disconnected the hot out on the water heater just so I could reach that one in the back right corner. It's doable. You can do it, but just take your time and be patient with it, because they're not easy to remove. All right, after you have disconnected all of your water lines that are underneath the sink, as well as the drain, the PVC piece for the drain, I took a small semi-dull pocket knife and just held it at an angle and put the tip of it underneath and ran it around the edge of the sink to cut the silicone seal. At that point, with everything disconnected and the seal cut and these awful clips that are a pain to get out, once I had all those disconnected and all those out, then all you have to do is lift the sink straight out. All right, now that the sink is actually removed from the counter, we can look down into the cabinet, and this is the water line that feeds the cup rinse. This was the hot water feed, and this was the cold water feed, and of course this is your drain. So there's not a whole lot to it, but this is much easier to see from this angle. All right, now that we have the sink out, we have a little bit better or clearer picture as to how it's put together. And before I actually explain or talk about each one, I want to tell you that you can move these wherever you want to, as long as the hole sizes will line up. If I wanted to move the cup rinse to this position on the sink and then the faucet here, I would just need to switch these 2 out. It's not very difficult. Just loosen these retaining nuts, pop them out, and then put them back in whatever order I want to. But the sink is not very complicated. This is, of course, your hand pup for your hand soap. This is that device that controls the valve, whether you hold water in your sink or it drains. This is the feed that goes to the spray nozzle faucet. This is the part that I've had to replace, which I will explain when I put all this back together. This is the hose that feeds your rainfall piece that goes right here. And of course, this is your hot and cold lines that go up to your control knob at the top of your sink. And this is where you connect your water feed for your cup rinse. Once you get it out, it's not very complicated. And like I said, you can move all these controls which best suit your needs. All right, guys, now that we have our sink out and we understand how everything operates and how everything connects, I'm going to be moving around a lot in this, so I make sure I get all this in frame, but I want you to see how the rainfall feature works and how I went about testing it. My crack, I believe it's on this side. I have a very small crack in this black plastic right in this area right here. And basically the way I found out that this was the problem, this is where my leak was coming from, because I first thought it was at this junction. I put just a piece of painter's tape over all these little holes where the rainfall feature works, and I just blew air into the feed hose and saw bubbles and water coming out of that end right there. So that's how I found out that I found where the leak was coming from. All right, I'm going to try to stay in frame here. The only thing you really need to change the waterfall piece out in the sink is a Phillips head screwdriver and a 16mm open end wrench to get that done. The way this operates, your feed hose connects, just bolts on to your waterfall feature, and you slip this through the sink and through this retaining bracket. The retaining bracket slides up to this position, and then you use Phillips head screws to go through here, and it locks this in. It pinches with this retaining bracket. It pinches this piece within the sink. Now there's no watertight seal for the rainfall feature. This just floats. I hope I'm in frame here. This just floats inside that small rectangle within the sink. All of your connections, all of the water comes through this piece right here, where this piece screws on to the waterfall feature of the sink. All you have to do is make sure that your gasket is good, which they do give you some extras in the kit. You just screw this down on here and tighten it up, and be sure that you don't over tighten. We don't want to crack our plastic, so we're just going to snug this up. And I do want my hose coming straight down from the center. All right, and we also see I've made a mistake. All of my little, I guess for lack of a better term, nipples that where the water comes out, now they're pointed up. So if I put this piece in the sink just like this, the water is going to shoot up. So I need to rotate this 180 degrees so all of the little nipples are pointing down, so the water shoots down. And I'm just going to tighten this up, liberally tighten it up. I don't want to over tighten this and crack the plastic. I want to make sure that it's good and tight. All right, now that we've got all of this back together, I'm going to move my recording device down in the floor where I have the sink and show you how you install this piece into the sink. All right, guys, first thing we've got to do is lace our waterfall feature through the hole in the sink and make sure it is lined up. Then we're going to put this retaining bracket on the back, and there I have an issue. So before I can go any further, I am going to have to loosen my little drain control Move it out of the way. I may have to take it completely out. I'm not sure. I'm going to have to. Good, you can watch me do this. To take this completely off, all I have to do is take this gray piece, unthread it. I want to put, it's just a little ball that fits in that little hole right there. You just take that off, take these pieces and the gasket, and we'll set that to the side. We'll put that back together in just a second. All right, so now that that's out of the way, this is our retaining bracket that holds our waterfall feature in place. And I will try to do this with one hand if I can. Hopefully I'm good enough to pop this in here. And all you want to do here, folks, is just make sure that the end of the screw comes out of the black piece here and extends beyond the bracket. So now that I just have one screw, I've got 3 more to put in, this is not going to go anywhere. And it doesn't matter if it wiggles just a little bit, because again, the rainfall piece it's not meant to create a watertight seal around it. Your only seal is right here where your feed hose goes into the waterfall piece. All right, I'll get the rest of the screws put in and be right back with you. All right, now that I have all 4 screws in, I can show you a little better and explain a couple of things. First, you want to be sure that you do not run that screw all the way in. If you do, the end of the screw is going to hit the bottom of the sink. You want to leave about 1/4 of an inch. All you want is about 1/4 of an inch sticking out to make sure that this screw goes past this retaining bracket. And now that it has, that is tight and everything is exactly as it needs to be. And you have 4 of those screws. Right now that that is all done, we can put our drain closure back together. So all I have to do is put this here, put my gasket up to the bottom. I'm going to put my spacer. This is just a spacer that slicks all the way to the top. And then I can just lock this into place. Adjust this however you want it. Doesn't need to be exceptionally tight. You just want to make sure it doesn't wiggle. You can twist it a little bit to get everything straight to your liking. It's not necessary. It doesn't matter how it points. Now to hook everything, this piece back up, you want to make sure that you turn your knob so this is pointing out. The little ball goes into the slot. You move your collar to the top, screw it into place, just hand tighten, and you're done. You're done with this part. This is your soap dispenser piece. I had to take it off to get this screw in. I'm just going to slide it up over and it just threads into the bottom right there. Easy to do. Now I need to connect to my water feed. Sure, if you can see that, that's a B, and here is my feed, B. This feeds the waterfall feature of the sink. The A feeds the faucet of the sink. This coincides with the icons that are on our knob. So to put this back together, all I need to do is I'm going to push the little blue tab. I'm going to push it all the way in, and it locks into place. So at this point, we are ready to install the sink back into the countertop and do some testing to make sure that I haven't broken something. All right, folks, to set the sink back into the cabinet, all you need to do is just make sure that everything sits back down, being careful not to pinch your fingers. We want to make sure that our drain is lining up as best we can. And at this point, we're ready to hook up our drain, reconnect our cup rinse, reconnect our faucet, all our line connections, being sure that we have everything buttoned up. And what we're going to do is test, make sure that we don't have any leaks. Once we test and make sure that all of this is working as it should be, I will have to disconnect everything once again, because I will have to pull the sink back out. I will have to put a bead of silicone around the counter that the sink sits on. Once that is done, then I will set the sink back in its position, and I will let it set for about 24 hours. Once that silicone dries and I'm happy with the way it is working, then I can reconnect my water lines again, put these clips back up underneath the sink, and button this project up. All right, folks, all my water lines are connected. It is time to see if the leak has been fixed. First thing I'm going to do is turn on the faucet. The faucet is currently running. I have no leaks that I can see. I'm going to now turn on the waterfall feature. And when I did this before, let me move the camera and show you. That is the waterfall feature and how it works. I was getting a small leak behind this part right here. Now I am not getting any leaks whatsoever. So the fix, I'm getting no leaks around my drain, no leaks. I put my water heater part back in. I'm getting no leaks in the cup rinse. I'm going to turn the waterfall off. Now I'm going to just use a cup and press down on this to see if I get any leaks from this connection. And that is quite a stream of water. I'm going to tell you something, folks. Don't press that unless you have a cup over it. It will shoot water to the ceiling of the camper. It is quite a lot of pressure. All right, again, I'm going to sit you back down here. I'll double check behind everything. And I have no leaks. So the multifunction sink, the waterfall part, has been fixed. Okay, folks, now that all of my repairs, I verified that I have no leaks. I took the sink, disconnected everything, took the sink back out of the counter. I applied thread tape to the water heater, and both to my hot and my cold feed lines, I took the old thread tape off and put new thread tape on it. So now I'm going to set the sink back in the counter, and I'm going to get it as straight as I can and mark it with the edges of it with some painter's tape. That way I will know where to put my caulk bead. Alright. Get that in here. The only thing I really need to make sure is lined up is my drain. So I am going to hop underneath here and make sure that the drain lines up enough to where it screws on like it's supposed to. I am not going to connect any of the water lines at this time. I'm just going to try and take a small ruler. It's about 3 inches. That's 3 inches. I still have a few marks where the old caulk was. I want to measure on this side. Turn my ruler the right way. That's right at 2 inches. And that's right at 2 inches. So that's about as square as I'm going to get it. So I'm going to clear all this out. I just want to get it to the edge so that when I pull up the sink, I'm able to determine exactly where it is supposed to go. Alright, do this side. Get close. Don't have a whole lot of room to work. And now for this side. Maybe easier if I go ahead and tear this. I would like to do the back if I possibly can, but I'm not sure if that's going to be possible because of the cup rinse that sticks past the back edge of the sink. But I'm going to try to slide that underneath the cup rinse and bring that to the edge. I'm just barely touching the edge of the sink, so I will know the exact dimensions or the lines of the sink. So once that is done, I can disconnect the drain again, and I will be ready to pull the sink out. Alright. There it goes. Now I am ready for my bead of caulk. Alright guys, I am going to use this GE 100% Supreme Silicone Clear that is made for kitchen and bath. And I am going to just put a bead on the inside of that painter's tape, a very small bead. I'm no plumber, or carpenter, so I hope I'm going to do my best not to make a mess with this. Ooh, that does not come out easy. I'm going to have to really squeeze this tube get this to come out. And I have to move really slow. Actually, I'm going to try to cut this hole just a little larger. This will be a little easier like that. Cap back on. And let's set the sink back in. See how it goes. All right. The only thing I really want to hook back up is my drain. Yes, and it lined up okay. I hope that's not in you guys' way. All right, so I'm going to move this backward. Try to get it as lined up as I can. All right, and I'm going to sit an old towel in the sink and await. I am going to go ahead, I believe I should. I don't want the silicone to, if it has mashed out of the sink, I don't want it to get on the painter's tape and be very difficult to get the painter's tape off the counter. So I'm going to go ahead and move the painter's tape. I was really only using it to mark. All right. So now what I will do is wait probably 24 hours. I don't think I need to necessarily have to wait 24 hours, but I'm going to let this sit for 24 hours, and then I am going to put my hooks, my clips back up underneath to pull the sink down to the countertop. I might have to take this silicone and go at an angle along the edge. I believe that's the way that it was first done. But we will just see how this goes, and tomorrow we'll check it and find out where we're at. All right, folks, I'm to the point where I'm ready to silicone along the edges, the outside edges of the sink. I'm going to do both sides in the front, and then we'll talk a little bit about the back here in just a second. But I hope I don't make a terrible mess with this stuff. As I've said, I am not a carpenter or a plumber. So let's get started. I'll probably speed through most of this. That went a little better than I thought it would. It looks pretty good. Now I'm going to see if I can get the back done. In doing the silicone, I probably made a bit of a mistake. It's impossible for me to get caulk underneath the cup rinse up against the edge of the sink. So I'm going to have to figure out some way to do that, because if water gets underneath it, it will leak down on the underneath side of the countertop and it will destroy the countertop. So I'm going to do the back as much as I can get and let that dry, and I will probably come back another day before we go on our trip to get underneath my cup rinse. Well, the caulking's done. It's not perfect, but it's not terrible either. I have a few spots that probably need to smooth out, but like I said, I'm no carpenter and I am no plumber. All right, well, that wraps up as far as getting it set. Folks, I tried to video putting the clips, the 4 clips back on the 4 corners, and there's no way I could get this phone I'm using to record. It's an old Samsung phone. I could not get it back to where you could actually see anything. I was able to get a couple of still shots, which I will include now. In the video, but I just couldn't record it. So all that's left is to reconnect all my water lines, and this project will be done. All right, I'm going to be reaching around the camera. I don't know how this is going to work out, but I'll try to not get in the camera's way. This is my hot water connection. All right, this is my cold water connection. And this is the connection that goes up to the cup rinse. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to video that, but I'll give it a shot here in a minute. First thing I'm going to do is get my water heater out. And the biggest thing, folks, is trying not to cross thread any of this. Shoot. Don't stick your hand in your silicone you just put down. That I think only has to be hand tightened. The actual water connections themselves, I use a 16mm wrench and just a crescent wrench. So I lay the crescent wrench down. I hold this because when I start to turn this nut, this cord is going to want to twist. So I want to hold it in place so it doesn't kink it. And you can feel it try to start turning. You don't have to get it crazy tight. All right, so that's the cold water. And I'm going to do the hot water. Okay, that's starting to turn. I think that's, I'm going to try one more little, there. All right, so those are those two connections. Oh, now this one's not easy. All right, guys, I got all the water turned back on. My water heater is full. Do not see any initial leaks. That is the rainfall. And that is the faucet. And this is the cup rinse. All right, so I'm going to slide y'all that way. Check all of my connections. And I seem to be good. So that should wrap up that project. All right, guys, that should wrap up this little project with the sink. I do have a little bit of an issue with the knob you turn that stops the drain up. Obviously, I did not put that back together properly. I turn the knob, it does click, but it doesn't stop the drain. So I'm going to take that back apart at some point and figure out what's going on there. When I do, I'll add it as a supplement video later. Right now, I'm just happy I don't have leaks, and I'm happy that everything is ready for our first trip in a couple of weeks in this RV. I hope you found this helpful. If you have a no boundaries with a multifunction sink, I think there are several different models that have this particular sink, so I hope it helps you as well. I hope you like the video and subscribe. We plan on doing some lithium upgrades at some point in the future. Plan on doing some sewage storage upgrades, sewage pipes here in the next few days. And lots of other things that we're going to video as we go along the way, things that break and how we fix them. So I hope you like, hope you subscribe, and I hope this was helpful. Thanks, guys.